fucking thing sucks!
Där rasismen och antifeminismen hänger ihop.
Mi volt ez a pusztító alfáriság?
Hello everyone, it's the Hungry Cube here, and this is the top 5 reasons why Star Wars Episode 7 sucked. Now, first of all, let me just say that I didn't absolutely hate this movie. And at first I even liked it. I mean, most of the characters were lovable, the movie was funny, the special effects were great, and overall it was a well-made movie. But the more and more I watched it, the more I started to realize that I don't like this movie. Those tiny little details that at first only bothered me a little started to become more and more irritating, to the point where I discovered this movie sucked. And I am tired that there is not one negative review of this movie that I can find. So I decided to make one. So, without further ado, let's get on with the list. Number 5. The music. To be honest, at first I hesitated to even put this on the list. Because you know, who likes what music is completely relative. But then I heard some other people being unsatisfied with the scores of this new movie. So I thought, there might be something to it. Now, I only have respect for John Williams and his work. But for some reason, this time his music just didn't hold up to its usual quality. I have no idea how did that happen. Maybe they rushed him, or he just got old, or I don't know. But sometimes his music was just the same scores as before with a few more drums, and in my opinion, they just made it worse. I sincerely hope he makes something better next time, because I really, really love John Williams, and without him Star Wars will never be as good as it was many years ago. Number 4. The Aliens. Now, there is no problem with making new aliens for the new movie, even though they felt very inauthentic. The problem is that the aliens from the previous movie were nowhere to be found. I mean, I only remember seeing 2 of the older species, and even they are only there because they are characters from previous movies, Chewbacca and Nien Nunb. This kind of mentality is not expanding the universe, this is replacing it, and it's wrong. And I can see this mentality on many other things, like how they threw out the extended universe and labeled it as legends. Or the planets. Oh, the planets! I mean, yet again, the same thing. Nothing wrong with having new ones. The problem is that the old ones are nowhere. And these planets are just copies that will be remembered as, this is the planet that's not Tatooine. This is the planet that's not Endor. This is the planet that's not Yavin 4. And this... oh wait, this was actually kind of cool. And fresh and new, and they blew it up. Nice. I mean, it just makes me mad. I mean, even George Lucas, who everybody likes to slander a lot, and granted, he fucked up a lot of shit. I'm not arguing with that. But at least, he made sure that Star Wars stays Star Wars. That everything stays authentic. That everything feels Star Wars. And I hate that I have to defend George Lucas here, but he just did it better. He just did. Number 3. It's unrealistic. Okay, Star Wars was never the movie that I would watch for scientific research. There is a point where a movie starts to become ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. I mean, since when can you just jump to hyperspace without even calculating any coordinates? And getting out of hyperspace is not a matter of seconds, like, oh, if I get out now I won't plunge into this planet that I'm heading towards at more than the speed of light. No, that's not how it works.
That's not how the Force works.
I mean, Han can't even use the Force. So there is absolutely no explanation as to how he did it. And then, what the fuck is this? What's this? Hyperspace traveling laser? How? What are these planets? Are they in the same system? And if so, how can they be so close to each other? Did gravity stop working or what? This formation is impossible. And if I recall correctly, one of these planets is Coruscant. And I don't remember a large cluster of fucking planets around it. Were they just lazy to make them on different frames or what? And how the fuck can you see a laser beam probably thousands of light years away from you? And how the hell can you see it in broad daylight? And these are just the obvious ones. The movie itself is full of these random, unlikely happenings, and the Force can explain many things, but not everything. BB-8 happens to find Rey, Finn happens to crash land near the outpost, he happens to find the outpost, the Millennium Falcon happens to be there, and they happen to run into Han Solo, the previous owner of the Millennium Falcon. And then the Rathars immediately kill everyone they come across, but then, for some reason, they have to drag Finn for minutes so that Rey has enough time to save him. Why? Why didn't they just eat him? And then there is the time when Rey uses a Jedi mind trick, which doesn't just beg for the question of how she knows how to use a Jedi mind trick, but also the question of how the fuck she even knows about the existence of a Jedi mind trick. I mean, she grew up on a fucking isolated planet in the middle of fucking nowhere. What the fuck? Ugh. And then, Finn first fights Kylo kind of well, and then Rey defeats him with no former combat training. How? I mean, I've heard some explanations, like how Kylo was injured, and his training wasn't complete, and the Force is awakening, and blah blah blah. But they are all just so forced and trumped, and fuck you, I ain't buying it. This doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And one last thing before I get to my next point. This movie is full of these unexplained, out of context stuff. Like, who is this guy? How did Poe survive? How does Maz have Luke's lightsaber? By the way, all this shit is explained in comics and books. But first of all, at the time this movie came out, these didn't exist. Second, after this bad movie, I don't care about them. And third, these guys are doing Star Wars wrong. In the previous movies, everything was explained, and they only gave backstory to a few things because people wanted more content. By the way, I know you guys did it because you wanted to recreate this sort of Star Wars universe feeling that everything is interconnected, but you guys are doing it the wrong way around. You first establish things and then enrich it. You don't just shit something on the floor and then later on explain what it is. Yet again, George Lucas, he just did it better. Number 2, the dark side. And this is something that really hurt, because I've always loved dark side characters more than the light. All my favorite characters are villains like the Emperor or the Joker, or Arturus Mensk, or Walter White, or Calvin Candy, or Hans Landa, and the list just goes on. That's why it was very painful for me to see that the dark side in this movie got completely ignored. There just are no good villains in this movie. I mean, Snoke looks like a potato, General Hux is nowhere near as scary as he is ridiculous, I memean, look at this. This is a clown. And the First Order itself was very disappointing. And Captain Phasma is not even in this movie. And when she is, she sucks. Oh god, she sucks so bad. I mean, what kind of a captain disables the shield of an important battle station that is about to destroy its #1 enemy just because she got captured? And the fact that she's a female stormtrooper adds absolutely nothing to this movie. She might as well could have just been a space sausage with a sombrero. At least then I would understand that the only reason she disabled the shields is because she thought it would be funny. And finally, there is Kylo. The single biggest letdown of this movie. His lightsaber alone could deserve its own point on this list. But then it would be a top 6 and that doesn't sound as good as top 5, so... Anyway, I just can't stress enough how irritating this piece of shit was in this movie. I mean, for like the first 50 minutes, he was awesome. He stopped a blaster shot mid-air and kept it there for minutes. He was a badass. And then he took off that mask and became this whiny teenager with anger issues. And his face, ugh. I mean, I like Adam Driver, and I've seen this guy with a mustache and a beard. He doesn't have to look like a whiny teenager who's trying to hold back a major fart. So why did you have to make him look like this? Why? Whiny, condescending bitch with anger issues didn't work with Anakin, and it doesn't work with Kylo. Just stop. Number 1. It's a remake. Star Wars always took some elements from previous movies. It's almost like a tradition to reuse stuff. But this movie is so infuriatingly unabashed that it copied the entire story of New Hope. This is outrageous. It's a giant middle finger to the fans, and it's basically just a way to rip off people. For the sake of argument, I'm gonna leave a link to a video in the description that shows just how many scenes they completely copied from the original trilogy. I recommend you check it out because it's brilliant. It shows really well just what a rip-off this movie is. There basically isn't a single original thing in the story of this movie. They basically were able to make the exact same thing happen 30 years later. I could basically forgive every single mistake of this movie that I've already stated if this movie wasn't a remake. J.J. Abrams is a remaker. I don't have strong sources on this one because I don't watch Star Trek, but as far as I know, he did the exact same thing to Star Trek. And now he did it to Star Wars. This guy is a remaker, and I'm very happy he isn't directing the next one because he ruined enough of Star Wars already. This is why this movie is the second worst of the franchise right next to Episode 2. So as far as I'm concerned, fuck you JJ, fuck you Disney, better luck next time. You tried to play it safe, and that was the ultimate failure of this movie. So these were the top 5 reasons why Star Wars Episode 7 sucked. Comment, share, subscribe, like, dislike, or whatever the fuck you want. I was the Hungry Cube, best wishes, and fuck off.